Hi, this is George Weigel. Welcome to my Garden Tip of the Week series. Let's go see what's going on in the garden today. Somehow we went from summer to almost winter in the blink of an eye. It's getting cold, and I thought this might be a good week to take a look at some of the things you might want to do to winterize your garden. And a good place to start would be with some of your tender plants, especially things that are borderline hardy for our winters. That would be like this Nandina, which we didn't used to be able to plant here, but it's now pretty reliable. Things like camellias, osmanthus, sweetbox, maybe even crepe myrtle, particularly the broadleaf evergreens, and particularly anything borderline hardy you've planted this year might be a good thing to protect at least this first winter or two. One way to go about doing it, notice here's a Nandina I want to protect. I've taken 3 stakes and I've hammered them in the ground around them because I'm going to make kind of a little protective blanket around it. One good product to use is just burlap. It's pretty cheap. You can get it in garden centers and home centers, and the idea is to make a little kind of a jacket around it to protect it. It prevents windburn, because one of the things that could happen in the winter, these broadleaf evergreens can get hit with cold winter wind and it browns the edges and they come out looking pretty bad. So take a look at protecting those. If you have ice and snow sliding off the roof and it kind of crushes your evergreens, you might want to think about putting a little roof on there, a little lean-to, just a piece of plywood or something to keep it from smashing the plant down. And one other thing, if you don't want to go to the trouble of that, there are some products like this, wilt-proof it's called. It's an anti-transpirant. You spray it on the leaves and it also protects the leaves from windburn over winter. You should put it on maybe 2 or 3 times in above freezing days over the winter time. A couple other things to do. If you haven't done this yet, you know what this is. This is a canna that I dug from my garden. It's a tender bulb. Things like dahlias, callas, cannas, gladioles, they're not winter hardy, so you should have dug them up by now. If you didn't get out there and do it, this one has already been dug, washed off, dried, and I'm going to store it in the winter time. So take care of that. And then something else, breakables, get those inside. If you have ceramic pots and rain gauges, anything that might freeze and crack, like this urn, I'm going to take that in pretty shortly, store that in the garage so it doesn't freeze. One other thing too, your hoses need to come in too. You want to drain those, get them inside, but not too early, because if it stays dry, going into wintertime, if you get a few weeks where the soil has a chance to dry out and then the ground freezes, that could be a problem for some of your newly planted perennials and shrubs. So just make sure the ground stays damp until the ground freezes for the end of the year. And then one other thing I want to tell you about is animal protection. If you have trouble with deer or rabbits or voles or even chipmunks, mice even, they love tender bark. So if you've planted some young trees, you want to take a look at wrapping those for winter. Now in my backyard I lost 2 big trees last year because the voles just gnawed them right up a foot the whole way around and killed them. Young stuff is even more of a threat. So what you want to do is wrap them either with a plastic tree wrap or a cylinder of wire or some corrugated cardboard wrap, something to keep them from eating the bark. So get out there and take care of those things and have fun, and it'll be Christmas before you know it. See you next week on PennLive.com.